Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the cassette phase. So I recently did a video where I pulled down some of my most watched VHS movies off the shelf and we took a closer look at the tapes and the box art and just talked about memories that we have of those particular movies. Well, today I'd like to do something similar, but this time with cartoons and animated movies, because honestly, those can bring the nostalgia just as much as some of those old live-action movies. And because I have so many, kind of like last time, we'll just do 10 today. And they're not going to be in any kind of order or ranking or anything like that. We'll just do 10 tapes that, for whatever reason, just bring the warm, fuzzy, retro vibes. And the timing for this video is actually perfect because friend of the channel Josh just recently sent me a link to his blog where he talks about, VHS and cartoons and comics and movies and sci-fi and just anything fun and nostalgic. Well, he has a post there that talks about TV shows on VHS and cartoons on VHS. And he provides some of like the history and the backstory. So I'm going to put a link to that site in the video description. So shout out Josh. Thanks for sharing your expertise. So let's head on over to the rug and check out some of these relics from a simpler time and just talk cartoons. Sound like fun to you? Come hang out. Okay everyone, welcome back to the rug, where the first VHS tape that I want to talk about comes from the Burger King Kids Club. Remember that? With one of my all-time favorite cartoons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Come on, Kid Vid!
They're teenagers. Ah! They're ninjas. They're green.
We're dealing with a real mind here.
Ah! Now they're taking Burger King by storm. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle videos. Collect 4 adventures you won't find anywhere else. $3.49 each with any purchase. Prices may vary. For a limited time, only at Burger King. California!
This was one of 4, I believe, and I think this one was my favorite of the 4. Just such nostalgic art there and logos. Great shot of the brothers hanging out on the turtle blimp. Of course, this is an FHE production. Let's see, you had Invasion of the Turtle Snatchers, April Foolish, The Great Boldini, and then of course this one's Sky Turtles. Just great late 80s, early 90s art on that packaging. And Burger King recently went back to that logo. For years and years it was something different, and they've just recently switched back, which I'm all for, of course. And how nostalgic is that FHE logo? Every time it comes on the screen, it just takes me back. Now, one thing you're going to hear me complain about a little bit throughout this video is, these tapes are all so short. I mean, look at that. They gave us 1 episode, 28 minutes. As someone who likes to play these things in the background while I'm working, I don't like to switch the tapes out that often. And unfortunately, it prevents me from using these as much as I do some of the others. But they're still fun to pop in once in a while, and if you do want to sit down and watch an episode, I guess just it's convenient to pop this in and watch one at a time. But yeah, great memories of these Burger King Kids Club TMNT tapes. Alright, so next up we have a cartoon that I have talked about a few times already on the channel, and that comes from Hanna-Barbera and the Flintstone Kids. Look at that artwork. Now this tape is, the packaging on this one's pretty beat up. It's kind of hanging on by a thread, but that's all right. Got a great shot of Huckleberry Hound. You know, just bright, vibrant, colorful, eye-catching, you know, design on these tapes. Memories of this one, and again, probably a common theme amongst a lot of these. I remember renting these, maybe from Blockbuster, but definitely from the mom and pop video rental place that we had down the street. And also, I think you could rent these for free from the library. Could you not? I seem to remember doing that a few times. I know with some of the other movies that I'm going to show you today, but maybe even with things like Flintstone Kids and Turtles. Yeah, again, really beat up box, but and again, just one episode on this one. I do have another Flintstone Kids tape that I'll have to pull down and show you another time. That's longer. I think it has like 3 or 4 episodes on it. But what's great about that one, and I don't believe this feature is on this tape, but the other one has like a Halloween trick-or-treating safety promo on it, which is just amazing. So I'll have to get that out and show that to you sometime, but yeah, I'm missing the label on this one, so I have to make sure I keep it with the sleeve. You know, that happens a lot. The glue runs out on these old labels and it's just gone. I could make my own, and I probably need to do that eventually. But yeah, Flintstone Kids. Great, great tape. All right, so we've done a couple of cartoons. Let's look at a movie, an animated movie, and one of my favorite animated movies ever. The Land Before Time. Now, I can remember when this one came out. I remember seeing the previews for it on TV and being excited that this film was coming out and going and seeing it in the theater. From the creators of An American Tail, which, spoiler alert, we're going to feature later on in this very video. But yeah, just look at these characters. Just such a great adventure. You know, fun and innocent and simple, and actually really sad at times, as was the case with a lot of movies from this era. I don't know if they were trying to toughen us up as kids or introduce us to tragedy early on. I don't know, but it happened a lot in some of these old animated movies that we watched as kids. Rated G. Another great one from Amblin. Anyone else a big fan of this movie? I really like the music in this too. And wow, look how short that runtime is. 1 hour and 9 minutes for a feature film. That seems really short to me, but maybe not. And I have a few of the hand puppets that came from Pizza Hut when they were promoting this movie that are still really cool to display around the den.
Movie The Land Before Time. Littlefoot, Sarah, Ducky, and Spike share an incredible journey. Along the way, they become best friends.
Now we'll always be together.
And now these lovable characters can be your child's friends too. With a pizza from Pizza Hut, A Land Before Time Dinosaur is only 99 cents. So come to Pizza Hut. Your friends are waiting.
We'll always be together. Pizza Hut, make it great.
1989. Yep, Littlefoot and the gang. That's still so wild to me that it's only 1 hour and 9 minutes. Does that include the credits? Because that means it's probably like only about 1 hour of actual story. Either way, still great. And this is still a tape that I will put in pretty frequently. Love this one. Okay, let's move it back to cartoons now. and one of the most popular cartoons of the 80s, the original Transformers. Now this is a great tape that I use a lot. It's got several episodes on it, I think 5 to be exact. Yeah, you've got More Than Meets the Eye Part 1, More Than Meets the Eye Part 2, and then Part 3, and then there were a couple of bonuses, Aerial Assault and Cosmic Rust. Yeah, see, 125 minutes. And that's more like it. You know, they have the space on these tapes, why not fill them up and give us a whole adventure to watch instead of, you know, just barely getting our feet wet with one episode. But yeah, and that's not the only thing that I like about this one. They left in, when you go back and watch this, they actually left in the bumpers, like the Transformers will return after these messages, and now back to the Transformers, things like that. Those are in here.
The Transformers will return after these messages. We now return to the Transformers.
Which, I don't know, I just think that adds to the whole experience, you know? Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of these toys, but I did like the show quite a bit, and the movie. You know, the original movie, I don't actually have that on VHS. I have it on DVD, so I do watch it, but I'd like to find the VHS copy of that sometime too. Any other fans of the old Transformers G1 cartoon series? Alright, so the next one I want to show you, the box is pretty faded, but it's awesome all the same. Jem and the Holograms. I mean, honestly, how 80s is that cover? Another one from Family Home Entertainment, FHE. And this art looks nothing like the show itself, as you know, but I feel like that was pretty common. Great art and colors, though. The Princess and the Singer. I mean, just look at that logo. And all the neon. At least we got 45 minutes here, so I think we got a couple of episodes. 1987 Hasbro. Now, were you like me as a kid growing up? If, you know, you were watching your usual Ninja Turtles or He-Man or Ghostbusters and something like Jem came on, or I don't know, She-Ra. Did you watch that stuff and enjoy it? I know I did. One of my best friends in the neighborhood was a girl who lived across the street. And, you know, so I would watch her cartoons, quote unquote, and she would watch my cartoons, quote unquote, and we enjoyed the stories all the same. And this was definitely one of those. She actually introduced me to Jem and the Holograms way back in the day. I mean, thinking back on that show, think about all the music that they had to write and record and perform to fit into these episodes. Not sure you see things like that anymore for just a, you know, a daily after-school cartoon. But yeah, love Jem and the Holograms. So it's actually really appropriate that Fievel is right there watching, because the next movie, of course, none other than An American Tail. And this is another, you know, Steven Spielberg, Don Bluth, I believe. Yeah, Don Bluth film. I think Land Before Time was as well. And you'll notice for a lot of these animated movies that I'm showing today, I'm not including any Disney, at least not for this video, because I want to do a completely separate one for clamshell tapes. You know, the tapes that came in the plastic clamshell cases. I'm just sticking to the standard, VHS box sleeve for this video, so that's why you're not seeing any Disney really. But this was a fantastic film that still holds up. I've shown it to my kids. I still like to have it on in the background, or I just like to sometimes just sit down and watch it start to finish. Again, it's got some sad stuff, but great adventure, great story, great music, great characters. You can see some of the good reviews there. And there's Fievel. Yeah, I feel like this was really popular. It seemed like everyone at school, back in elementary days, loved this one. I remember one Christmas I actually got a Fievel backpack. It looked a lot like that, but it had straps on it. And if I can find a picture, I'll paste it in here, but it wasn't the most functional backpack for carrying things to school, but it was cool. I liked it. Hour and 21 minutes. Still short, but at least it's longer than Land Before Time. Anyone else a fan of these old Don Bluth animated films? Seems like they were always at least decent, and a lot of times were just great movies. Now the sequels for this particular series, not quite as good, which is usually the case. I mean, you could say the same thing for Land Before Time, parts 2 through whatever it is, 15. But the originals will always have a special place, in the hearts of 80s and 90s kids, I feel like. So we've talked about mice and dinosaurs in some of the Don Bluth films. Let's talk about a different dinosaur this time. The last dinosaur, Denver. I mean, after all, he is your friend and a whole lot more. Yeah, this is just like classic late 80s, maybe even early 90s aesthetics here. The colors and just the fact that he's so rad. I loved this cartoon. It had just such a great catchy intro theme song. And I was just ecstatic when I found, I think I have 2 or 3 of these tapes that I found at an antique store several years back. Just sitting there, $1 each. I feel like you don't see a lot of Denver the Last Dinosaur. I know there weren't really a lot of toys, maybe a couple of plushies, but there wasn't a lot of merchandise or anything like that. Other Adventures. I think I have that one too. Yeah, 45 minutes, so at least we got a couple of episodes. And there he is on his skateboard, of course. On one side you've got him on a skateboard, on the other side you've got him with an electric guitar and sunglasses. You gotta love that. I don't really remember Fry's home video. But I'm glad they at least gave us a couple of tapes for Denver. It's such a fun old cartoon. And speaking of fun old cartoons, who remembers Captain Planet? A hero for Earth. Tape's a little beat up, got some marker on it. That's okay. Captain Planet and the Planeteers. I think this was maybe early 90s. I always thought it was so cool that they had rings that matched their elemental power. And they had to team up,
Let our powers combine. Earth. Fire.
Wind. Water.
Heart.
right. I am Captain Planet.
And didn't this cartoon teach us about things like recycling and conservation? Oh yeah, and his super robotic oil rig from destroying a wildlife sanctuary. It's funny. Great art, pretty good animation, memorable theme song. You got the voice actors there. Oh, Whoopi Goldberg was Gaia. Huh, I didn't know that. LeVar Burton. How funny. Ed Asner. And of course, John Ratzenberger. Wow, there's a pretty star-studded cast there for this relatively obscure cartoon. Yeah, I don't watch this one as often. It's another really short one. I think they got one episode on here. And the label's printed this way. Turner Home Entertainment. Yeah, 24 minutes. Like, why? You know, what extra resources would it have taken to put another episode or two on there for us? But I'll stop complaining about it. Great box art, though. Definitely takes you back to the days of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. So let's go back to movies for this next one. One of the earliest films I can remember watching, honestly. The Last Unicorn. And I don't know if the first time I saw it was on VHS or if I caught it on TV, but I do remember this was one that we rented from the library, for free. We went down, I forgot the name of the place, but it's in Oklahoma City. It was right next to the grocery store. It was right next to what used to be a Skaggs, like an Albertsons Jewel Osco place, and then eventually became like a Homeland. In that same parking lot, there was a library, and you could go check out some tapes. And they didn't have the nice sleeve box art like this. They had just like the clear plastic clamshell looking case around each one. So you had to kind of, sometimes they'd have a little printout in there to show you what the movie is, but a lot of times you just had to pick up each one and look at the label. but hey, it was free. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of like fantasy novels and things like that. And I think looking back at it, this is one of those films that kind of got me into that. Like the artwork is just, and animation in that movie is beautiful. And the music is great. I think there's like a Simon and Garfunkel song that's featured. 93 minutes. Okay, so Rankin Bass, that makes sense. A lot of things from our childhood involved Rankin Bass. (1982). Yeah, so that makes sense. I would have only been 1 or 2 years old when the movie first came out in theaters. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit more obscure, not as well known when you're talking about the classic animated films of the 80s and the 90s. I feel like this one gets a little bit overlooked. So if you haven't seen it in a while, check it out. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. But even better, of course, as you know, I'm going to say this, if you can find a copy of it on VHS, that's the way to go. And for this last one, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put two movies in one, because I feel like they had to be lumped together. And that's the Care Bears movie and the Care Bears movie 2. Gotta love those simple titles. You know exactly what you're getting. I mean, how much more simple and innocent does it get? Look at the gang there. Video treasures. Yeah, now I must have watched these at like a babysitter's house or daycare or something, really, really young. but there are songs in both of these movies that stuck with me. And when I first started collecting VHS tapes and tracking down all this nostalgic stuff a few years ago, when I watched these for the first time, I could not believe the memories that came flooding back, surrounded by, based on the music that was playing. The songs that are in here, the opening credits and the closing credits on both movies, and throughout.
Camelot is a place we all can go whenever we choose it. Camelot is a feeling we all know. We never do lose it.
Hello, friend. It's good to be with you. Time is standing still. Our love shines true and bright. It always will. My wishing star has guided all you do.
I couldn't remember a thing about the stories, but for whatever reason, I remember those songs. You got some of the Care Bear cousins here. And what's cool about these is these were unique stories. These weren't just, strung together episodes and tried to pass off as a movie. These were, unique written scripts, full-on feature films. Unlike the Heathcliff movie, which I almost pulled down for this video today, but I'm pretty sure the Heathcliff movie is like 75% footage from episodes. And these boxes are pretty beat up, but and I actually have at least one, if not both of these, in clamshell cases. Just not quite as cool. I like these better. Especially this Care Bears movie too. Look at the, it's got one of those side loader boxes. Oh, got it upside down. Yeah, this label is pretty old. Hanging on by a thread. Okay, now interesting. So this one, they actually printed the label on the plastic. That's a good idea. Huh, never noticed that before. But yeah, I am not too cool to admit that I liked these Care Bear movies. I have some of the old figures, here in the den. Just for some reason, the aesthetic and just the overall vibe and feel of Care Bears is just so nostalgic. Takes me back every time. What about you guys? And there we are. So, did you all see anything today that sparked a memory for you? Did we talk about a cartoon that maybe you hadn't thought about in years? Either way, I hope you all had a good time reminiscing. And if you did, consider subscribing. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.